This has been a challenging meeting for me. I've been watching the scenes of the flooding in Houston, and my sister and brother's house were flooded, but I saw my nephews had gotten a boat and had been going around, and they had picked up, I think, almost 100 people who were stranded in their homes. And I thought about this, there's a huge coming together of trying to help people. I've got colleagues who've been sleeping in the hospital for the last 4 or 5 nights to take care of the patients there. They've got their, they have rooms for them, they're eating there. It's hard to get out of the hospital. But what you see in these crises is how people pull together and they're trying to help each other. And I thought about this meeting, and in fact the field of cardiology, and it really is about helping people who are in a difficult time in life. If you've ever had my dad had an MI when I was a junior in high school, had an episode of sudden cardiac death, was resuscitated. I've had lymphoma, been in a situation where things didn't look good, ended up being in a clinical trial for therapies that didn't exist when I was in medical school. So it really made me have a thought about what we're doing here, and it really all goes back. It gets complicated sometimes, but it is all about helping people who are in crisis parts of their lives. That's what medicine's about, that's what research is about, and that's really what the profession is about. And I see that my colleagues really, when these crises happen anywhere in the world, you see physicians stepping up to the plate and usually being some of the first ones to volunteer to help. So these are my reflections of this meeting in Barcelona. People can't get into the hospital. Most of the people they're stranded in their houses, but it was the same thing today. Is okay, we have, let's make sure we're responding to all the requests there on email and voicemail. Let's get the prescriptions filled. Let's do everything we can to accommodate our patients, even if we're not able to see them in the clinic. So, it's just, you see everybody is worried about what can we do to help. And it's the same thing, reaching out. I can see this from the school and our Department of Medicine. If people need help, how can we help you in terms of housing or support? And it's the same thing for the patients who sometimes, they don't have a place to go out of the hospital. How do they get home? So it is something where it is it's a caring profession, and I think that we see in times of crisis, we see it tends to bring out the best of people for it, but ultimately the goal of medicine is to help people who are in need and in crisis, and that's the goal of research, is to come up with better ways of reducing pain, suffering, and death, cardiovascular disease, but all fields of medicine. It has been a split thing, because we have a kind of a group family text, and I'm saying all the things about the water's coming into the house. It's now up to half a foot. What are we going to do because the rain's coming down, and how do we evacuate? And the things going back and forth. Don't go in the attic, because that's the worst place you can be, is in an attic if the water's coming up. And then my nephew's getting this boat. So it's been, watching it, and then, the worries about it, and it's still not over because it's been circling back. And you don't know what direction these things are going to turn with it. There's just been an extraordinary amount of rain, and people have been under incredible duress. So it has been something of a kind of half there, half here. Like, I was supposed to go back tomorrow. I can't get back. Airport's closed for that. So I'm trying to figure out how to get back home with it. And obviously, no one's been able to get back into Houston for several days. So it's going to be a challenge to get back into the city. And then once you get back there, you got to be able to not just get to the airport, but to get to your house. So there's a lot of uncertainty going on with it, but it is something where I've just been impressed by how people pull together for it, and it does make me. It's all about helping people, and it really is. You know, medicine is a complicated field with all the rules and regulations, and there's a business side to it, but the bottom line is most people go into cardiology or into medicine because they want to help people. And it just makes me, you know, a certain feeling of, you know, it sounds corny, but it is a noble profession. That is why people really do it. And we see the nurses and everyone in the hospital. If you've ever been a patient and been in a bad situation, you're appreciative of everyone, the person who draws your blood, the nurse who takes care of you, the clerk who might help you on the confusing on your insurance and all the business issues with it. So it is something there. It's a different type of need than a flood, but you know, my first feeling of when I got diagnosed with cancer, I felt like I'd been on firm land, and I just fell into water. It's like you're almost swimming because you're just like everything's off. So it's not that much different when you have a bad medical problem, as if you're not on solid ground anymore with it. And it's just, anyway, I'm rambling a bit, but the thought of the concept of basically the flood made me think about what we do as a profession.